Good morning. What up, Dan and Damien? What is with the potty mouths of your DNC chairman, your U.S. Senator from California, your U.S. Senator from New York, Democrats? What's with all the profanity? What's with working blue? We played this before. Remember Senator Kamala Harris? She was the moderator of this little forum with Obama, former Obama flacks. Listen to Kamala Harris.
Healthcare is a privilege, not a right. And this is a matter of values. And so if you can pay for it, you can get it. Like this guy, this congressman, so you might as well say, well, people don't starve because they don't have food. What the is that?
What the F is that? Ha ha ha.
What? Is this where I'm supposed to clap or laugh?
And then Kamala Harris told a dirty limerick. She was doing her Andrew Dice Clay
really?
routine. Tom Perez on the stump. He's going all over the country swearing at people. Well, swearing to people about people.
In 2018, you're not just going to say heck no, you're going to say hell no. He does not want anything branded Trump care. Well, maybe Ryan care. I'll tell you what I'd call it. I don't care, because he doesn't give a about health care. When we have the skinny budget of this president, he calls it a skinny budget. I call it something else that begins with S. And my mama taught me you shouldn't do potty talk, but I hope you don't mind, because this is a budget.
It kind of sounds like Joe Walsh.
It kind of just makes me uncomfortable. It's like watching Bob Saget work dirty.
Yeah.
It's just weird.
But he even referenced that, I shouldn't use dirty words, but yet I've used dirty words. But it's just trying to push the buttons, trying to be really provocative,
Well, or is there something else afoot? Is this a strategy, or at least a tactic of Democrats? We're going to put that question to Noah Rothman, who is an associate editor for Commentary Magazine and has written a piece for Commentary Magazine, commentarymagazine.com. Shock Jock Democrats. Noah, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks for having me.
So in your piece, you say once is sui generis, twice is a coincidence, 47 times is a campaign. So what is behind the profanity of Democrats across the board, do you think?
Well, I think it's kind of self-evident. I think they believe that this is how Donald Trump got elected, that he was not just profane, but that profanity was kind of earthy and genuine, and they're just throwing whatever they can against the wall in order to see what sticks. They have this caricature of what they believe the Republicans were in the Obama era. They believe that they were reflexively antagonistic towards any of Barack Obama's agenda, that they opposed everything and anything. Ask a Tea Party member, by the way, if Republicans opposed everything and anything as Obama threw up, and you'll get a very different answer.
Mm-hmm.
And they think that Donald Trump was a crass, profane person, an ugly person, and that resonated with a particular group of voters and made up a majority coalition. So why not just do something that they can, even if it's contrived, to appear just like that?
I'm gonna combat your authenticity by being contrived.
But I don't recall President Trump swearing during his campaign. I mean, he was crass, but
he did on the stump.
he said,
Sure
I don't give a...
Sure he did.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm going to bomb the blank out of...
Sure, yeah. Yeah, and so to some extent, so it's a caricature of, you're kind of making this point, it's a caricature not just of Trump, but it's a caricature of kind of the quote-unquote working class white ethnic voters that supported Trump. This is who Tom Perez and Kamala Harris and Kristen Gillibrand think they are.
Right, and it kind of projects emphasis. It's emphatic, it's passionate, it's, as I said, contrived, but it's a display, sort of a pose that resonates with progressives who want to see the kind of passion and enthusiasm that they have for opposing this presidency, which they see as an existential threat. So they want to see that kind of passion on the part of their representatives. And again, as I wrote, this isn't really a new tactic. It's something that's been done before. I guess the earliest that I could find was an example where former Iowa Senator Tom Harkin was on the stump in the late 80s, attacking the George H.W. Bush Reagan agenda economically by calling it BS. And that was resonated with only the people who heard it. And he kind of miscalculated, because at that time, there weren't a lot of media outlets that could print or broadcast something like that. They were regulated for decency. Well, the calculation has changed now. So it's a smaller audience, a niche audience that they're reaching with this message, but it's getting out there.
Do you think that part of it is like they're trying to, they're largely cream puffs and they're trying to project toughness, and they think this is a way to do it?
Yeah, pretty much. I think that's appropriate. It's very much an affect.
Yeah.
And I don't think anybody's really fooled by it, but people who want to hear this sort of thing as passion hear it as passion. So I think it resonates with their audience.
Yeah,
This happens to be a dumbing down and a coarsening of the culture that I don't think anybody should welcome. But
No.
Who's to say whether it's not going to be effective?
So do you think we'll ever go back to a well-mannered civil society when it comes to politicians out there?
Well, I mean, it just depends on. I mean, imagine the world in which Mitt Romney was elected to the presidency, right? I mean, here's a guy who doesn't drink coffee because of it's
Stimulant,
effects on the brain. We have in the very recent past, elevated figures of decency and decorum to positions of high authority. So I don't think it's a time that's past necessarily, but it's just certainly not the day we're living in now.
Yeah, well, you think Ann Romney was above dropping an F-bomb? Come on.
Yeah,
no,
please.
I'm kidding, obviously.
She displays poise and grace.
Yeah, I know. It is really interesting, but it doesn't speak to kind of a desperation that you think you're going to F-bomb your way back to a majority?
I think it's incredibly condescending. I think if they're doing what I believe they're doing, which is seeking to appeal to a particular demographic by saying, I'm just like you, I curse and swear, and I'm crass and crude, and this is the kind of thing that you want, so doggone it, why don't you just vote for me, you idiot? I think that's what they're saying, essentially.
But it goes against what Michelle Obama said. They go low, we go high.
Yeah,
huh?
right. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, well, they're not going low. They're not going high anymore. We're going bottom of the barrel. But that's what people want on the progressive side of the aisle. They really do want to see this kind of passion, and they're not sure how to project it by doing the kind of standard civic things that you would do to obstruct an agenda in Congress. I mean, that alone is a kind of a decorum and a sense of propriety that is not acceptable in this new era in which we are in the midst of creeping fascism. You have to be exuberant. You have to be emphatic. You have to be crazed, manic in the pursuit of Republican values.
Well, it's funny.
So that's what they want.
Yeah, I mean, it's really interesting because they think that the fact they think that George Carlin's magic words are going to have some vast currency among the body politic. It speaks to their intellectual vacuity. It also speaks, as you were saying, to that elitism that you think if somebody didn't go to Harvard, that this is how they speak or this is how they entertain someone who does. And so, I mean, what they're actually doing is reinforcing the reason that people discarded Hillary Clinton and all of the elites around her.
Yeah, I think that's entirely possible. I'm not sure what that says about Hillary Clinton because she was a much more robotic figure. And perhaps this is a response to that kind of contrivance, that kind of caution that was displayed by the Clinton campaign, running everything through 37 filters before it reached the public. Perhaps they want to see that as authenticity, as you said. And,
right.
I wouldn't be surprised.
So, Noah, since you've been studying these, shock jock Democrats, what's the worst thing that you've heard?
Oh, the Gillibrand interview in the New Yorker magazine, I believe it was really over the top. The amount of times that she appealed to four-letter words was so much of an obvious attempt to do something shocking and edgy that it got really stale and obnoxious after a little bit. Once or twice, it's kind of edgy and it works. I want to say it works almost, even though I lament the degradation of the culture that it represents. It's nevertheless an effective political device. When you're using it 3, 4, 5 times with associated varieties of swears that are of various levels of offense, it's obviously what your campaign. It's obvious what you're trying to do, and I think people see through that.
Totally. I mean, it's like comedians. I mean, if a comedian is just every other word is the F
Oh,
bomb,
it's so.
it becomes tiresome,
Yeah,
right?
it's a crutch.
Yeah,
It's
totally a
absolutely
crutch. Totally a crutch. I mean, like one of the really funny comedians who does packs everywhere he goes, Brian Regan, and it's all family oriented. It's all just observational humor, and he's not alone. But there's no profanity at all in his act. People love it. So I mean, and by the way, kind of that Trump demographic they think is their path to a majority too. It's just it's so funny how, as you pointed out, Noah, just how little consideration and little respect that people who think this is the path have for people they're trying to attract. I don't know.
Yeah, and I'm not a prude here.
Me neither.
I've worked in some rather salty environments. I spent a lot of time in radio, and behind the radio, as I'm sure you know, people speak like people speak, and that's not something
Amy.
that is not genuine. It's honest, and it's the way people interact. But what we're seeing here is a campaign which I believe was something that you can't see this as happening as often as it's happening without seeing that there's some sort of direction behind it. And if there is direction, if there is a plan involved here, and this is how they believe they're going to reach their voters they lost, it suggests that they really don't think very highly of their voters.
Well, keep it clean over at Commentary Magazine, all right? Noah Rothman, the associate editor for Commentary Magazine, the piece Shock Jock Democrats, worth a read. Noah, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate that.
And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.